Hello everybody, we are here with a timeless reading. My name is Gabriella. For anybody new tuning in, welcome. Before we get started, let's set the intention for this to be a space where everyone allows themselves to feel seen and validated, and ultimately for this to be a safe space and a healing space in alignment with the highest good. Okay. What I'm seeing right now is you being open to like any sort of help in whatever form it may come is definitely going to be beneficial for you if you feel like you're open to it. This feels like collaborating with energies that are around you, whether this be people, whether this be synchronicities, signs, your ancestors, your guides. Can be all of the above, can be a mix of some of the above. Because what I'm seeing is that there's a bit of a change, there's a bit of a transition that you're going through. I'm seeing the Wheel of Fortune, so this is something where there's like an expansion that's happening. And also you may be getting somebody to help you out with maybe some of the smaller tasks, or for those of you that feel at times you have, I feel like people for the most part can sort of be separated into these categories if you're looking at it from this perspective. Some of us are like more organized and more methodical, especially when it comes to earth related things. And then some of us are better at seeing the bigger picture and may have a more, it doesn't come as easily to us doing more detail oriented things. You may have somebody that's helping you with the more like practical stuff or the more practical steps that you're taking, the way that I'm seeing this. Because to see the Wheel of Fortune and then to see the Page of Pentacles is somebody that's good at like ancillary things, and it reminds me of like a mercurial energy actually, where it's like somebody that can be an assistant of some sort, somebody that's like, we have to do this, this, and this, and then we'll like help you with those tasks, somebody that can help you get organized, just somebody that's like morale or any sort of support for you. And then to have the Wheel of Fortune, this is like an expansion that you're making. It can be steps that you're taking, it can be something new that you're learning about. And you may also be taking steps to maybe get more detail oriented with something, or get more grounded with the way that you're approaching something too, because this doesn't have to be somebody outside of yourself. This can be just something that you're doing with you. But yeah, it seems like it's taking, whether you're doing both of these positions and integrating them, or you're in one and somebody else is in another and you guys are working together, it's bringing these two sort of polarity mixes and uniting them together to make it work like as one fine machine, we can say. Because something is definitely, it seems to be turning around a bit here. This is feeling maybe also related to Jupiter, potentially retrograde, potentially. That's also going to, for each of you, where this is going to affect you is going to depend on it's going to depend on your chart ruler. For those of you that are Sag risings, you're probably going to feel more affected, more impacted by this. It'll be going retrograde in your 6th house. But for like everybody else, wherever Jupiter sits in your chart, that's where the retrograde may affect you. Also too, with retrogrades as well, it can be a time where we sort of like go inward and we can be finding something out. Like retrograde planets can be associated with research and sort of digging things up and that sort of energy. So yeah, there can be something that you're kind of looking into or learning more about or wanting to do a deep dive on. That can be the sentiment. I'm seeing you want to go at a fast pace. I'm seeing you have like a lot of energy here. But maintaining balance is important. Like, I actually see this Knight of Wands in this deck. This is the Fountain Tarot deck for those of you that are curious. The Knight of Wands in this deck, like Knight of Wands we usually see, generally speaking, like I get the vibe of somebody archetypally that's sort of like running all around. It can be like do something now, deal with the consequences later, or I'm really into this, I'm just going to go with my gut. but it can be a bit irresponsible sometimes, depending on the situation. Sometimes that energy is needed. Sometimes it's inappropriate for this situation. With this Knight of Wands specifically, you see how they have something on their back here? It reminds me of like needing to maintain balance, because it's kind of like you're carrying something, and if you move too quickly, the wind is going to get up underneath it and it's going to throw it off your back, what you've been carrying. So it's being very mindful of where you're applying pressure within your life and where you are channeling the energy that you have, because you don't want everything that you're carrying to like slide off of your shoulders, essentially. So this is like, yes, bring the right energy and make sure that you're reading the situation to be like, how do I need to apply this most effectively, most appropriately to reach the goal that I'm trying to reach, or to get done what I'm trying to get done here. And that's where you may be getting help for some of you. But again, like, this can be outside of yourself, or you can be helping yourself and being like, okay, I'm gonna check myself here so I'm not, again, like applying too much pressure within this situation, or coming at it with the wrong energy, and then it's gonna undo what I'm trying to do here. So there's still it's necessary for you to still be like methodical and organized, and not just run into something and not think about what you're doing. Like, you really want to be mindful with this here, okay? It feels too, like, at some points it may feel frustrating. It reminds me of, like, when you're trying to ride a two-wheel bike, okay? And you start having to go so slow that it's harder to maintain balance when you're going that slow. So at times it may be easier because you're like, oh, when I'm going fast, it's just easier to like stay upright when I'm on the bike. And at these times when I have to slow down a bit, that's really when I start feeling the pressure of everything. Like this Knight of Wands, it sort of looks like their knees are like buckling a bit. So yeah, when you slow down, you may be feeling that pressure, and it may just feel more natural for you to move at a faster pace through this. But I'm seeing you want to be meticulous and mindful of when to go fast and when to go slow. In order to support everything that you have going on right now. This is also about thinking about the long term as well. But yeah, you just like keeping up the energy that you're keeping up. I'm seeing it's really fueling you right now and able to propel you. I'm also seeing you're not being frivolous. And if you are, I'm seeing you're going to be checking yourself. Because with Knight of Wands and with the Hermit here, this means that there's a reflection of like, when do I go fast? When do I go slow? If I'm trying to go up a hill, I'm going to need to apply more pressure. I'm going to need to use more energy. If I'm going downhill, I may be accessing the brakes. Like, oh, there's a curve coming up, I need to slow down a bit, or this is like a straightaway, and so I can just keep going here. It's like that. So it's not just like one size fits all, one speed works the whole time. This is you like upgrading and downgrading and going faster and going slower and turning here and then going straight over there, like that. Like manually steering this thing that you're doing. Which takes more mindfulness. It can feel more energetically exhausting because of just how deliberately you're being as you move through this. But it's going to be worth it to you, because I'm seeing just this process is something very special that's unfolding. Yes. There are going to be moments where like old patterns and old, we can say muscle memory may want to come up, but I'm seeing you beginning to sort of like grow out of the old energy that you feel may not be as useful to you anymore as it was at a time in the past. So there's also an expansion here that's happening as well for you, where you're like, rather than just running through this with my ears pinned back, I need to be mindful of the way that I move through this process. I can keep that energy, but I can also be deliberate with where and how and when I'm channeling that too. And I'm seeing a lot more reflection as well. So rather than just like running the race and not taking a pause to be like, am I going in the right direction? Do I like the way that this feels? Do I want to keep going? There is taking pause here that's happening to check in. It may feel a little bit annoying right now because you're like, why can't I just like do all of this right now and get it done like faster? But I'm just seeing that it like right now is a time where it's kind of like start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. Like do something, reflect on it, do something, reflect on it. But it's not going to be like this forever. So those of you that may feel like a bit annoyed with the energy or a bit impatient, just know that it's not going to be like this forever. I'm just seeing this be a bit of a challenge within the obstacle course that's been set up for you particularly. But I'm seeing you very, very close, like nearly completing something. Yeah. This part is about to be over very soon. Very soon. Things are going to start moving much faster. It seems like things are going to go back to the pace that you like to have them at before. Because I'm seeing it's like you still have all of the fuel. So you may be capable of still going at the pace that you've been going at. But I'm seeing there be such a need to reflect and to do this like start, stop, start, stop. It's like rather than... so many different analogies here. Rather than it being an open sea, which you're used to sort of maneuvering through, it's like there are rocks in various places and you need to make sure that you don't run into them. So it's taking like more deliberation to check and see what's going on, make sure you're not going too fast, make sure you're steering away so you're not hitting these things. So it just feels like there are more like obstacles sort of set up that you have to traverse and move through. But I'm getting that like this part of the sea that you're in right now, you're about to be past like this little rough patch kind of that you've been facing, we can say. But yeah, what I'm getting is that the reason why this may be frustrating is because, you know, sometimes like things slow down or you have to be more reflective and you're like, oh, I needed this break. I'm glad that this is happening. I was feeling kind of exhausted. I'm not really seeing that be the case. I'm seeing like you have the energy and that's why it's frustrating because you're like, I have all this fuel. I want to go fast. But because of the situations that are happening sort of right now, it's calling for you to not be exerting all of that energy as quickly as you generally enjoy to or prefer to, would be more accurate. Yeah, something here about conserving, needing to conserve. I'm hearing not spend it all in one place. But I'm seeing that something is starting to stack up for you. And it seems like you're going to be tapping into that resource, whatever that is for you. Resources can be anything. Finances can be included, but it can be so much more above and beyond that. I'm also seeing you sort of reserving your... maybe saving how much you're engaging. It can be in conversation. It can be mentally. Like rather than just... maybe speaking automatically, there's more of a reflection as well, like much more of a mindfulness. But even beyond mindfulness, there's like a reflection, there's an analyzation. Like this Hermit card is actually sort of coming off more like the Judgment card, which is sort of putting things under a microscope prior to... this doesn't mean not saying things. It means being extremely mindful prior to saying things. It's like being extremely, extremely deliberate with the way that you're using your voice. What is motivating this? Where is it coming from? And maybe in a way that's like even more analytical than you normally feel is needed for the situation. So rather than exerting all of that energy associated with the throat chakra. I'm seeing you sort of take a step back. I'm also seeing you be like a big communicator and that being important to you. So it feels like your communication in retrograde a bit too. That also makes sense as well because of Mercury. You may also kind of feel like there's something that you're preparing for that hasn't taken place yet, or that we're building towards something. I'm seeing that as well here. There's like this need, reservation. I'm seeing this be associated with your throat chakra, and then I'm also seeing the moon. So in you reflecting and sort of reserving yourself within this energy, rather than it being exerting output, I'm seeing you take that energy and throw it inwardly. And there's something here that you may not have been seeing before that you're actually going to see. This is about you and yourself. Yeah, I'm seeing something is going to take shape that you hadn't been seeing before. But it's kind of like this, rather than taking your interactions and using them between you and another person, it's taking that energy and applying it to like a conversation between you and yourself. And I'm also seeing that it like really carries you into a better spot as well. Because you may not have been seeing something that it would have really helped you to see this thing. And it took reflecting in order to connect and tap into this, rather than just going with what felt good or what felt easy. So it's not just taking your energy in and not using it for anything. You're channeling it in a different direction, and it's focused inwardly. I think that you're also realizing that certain conversations that you can have with other people, they can facilitate things and inspire things for you that you can also access by having a conversation between you and yourself. And that may be the key to getting this to open up here for you. Because I'm seeing this be something that could have been like a more latent or even subconscious energy that you're connecting with now within you. And this like gave you the opportunity to tap into something within you. It can answer a why for you. But it may have been something that you weren't automatically like reflecting on, or maybe didn't even realize it was something that could be reflected on. I get the deep sense that this has to do with moon is here, so it can do with your past. It can also do with emotions, because moon is associated with your past, with your history, with your roots, family events that happened within your childhood. But it can also just be your subconscious energy. It's also about your emotions. It's also about your intuition, your astral body, how you're feeling things through. It can be also what's veiled or what feels like it's hidden from you until you go beyond and behind that and go looking for it. And what I'm seeing is this ends up like liberating you in some way, where it allows you to reach a sort of peace that you may not have been feeling before. But I'm also seeing that there's something in here that may be hard to face too. A lot of depth to this reading, like with the process that you're going through right now. There's something here about facing something that had happened in the past that you may have sort of been keeping hidden from yourself. Well, your ego would have been doing, you wouldn't consciously have been doing this necessarily. This would have been something that your ego was like, let's not expose you to this. You can kind of perceive your ego as like a very protective parent. And there's something here that may have been manifesting, but you may not have been realizing it, and it comes back to like a belief system that's associated with something that you experienced. A lot of the readings have also been like this, I feel, lately, within the last couple days, about things that had been like subconscious or sort of feeling hidden from you, that may have been feeling more hard to face, you facing that. Like, especially the way that this Five of Cups is set up. But what I'm getting is that if you kept doing your interactions with like another person or people outside of yourself, rather than preserving this energy and taking it inwardly, you may have not had the opportunity to see this. Because I get like other people around you, sometimes whether you realize it or not, can very much be a distraction from you reflecting and taking that accountability and responsibility. But again, I'm not saying this being a deliberate way. It's not like you're like, I don't want to face this, so I'm going to talk to whoever over there. It's more like we're socialized and it's encouraged in our society to be communicating with other people and doing this and doing that and to be less reflective sometimes. So it could have been something that just felt very natural to you, but you may not have realized that you were actually like bypassing in some way by doing this. And that's why something kept coming up and continuing to be like maybe an issue for you. And also too, like with the Knight of Wands as well, these can be our impulses where it's like, well, I'm feeling this, so I'm going to act on that. Or it's just easier for me to give into this because it's my nature, you know, stuff like that, where you're just sitting and acting from like your root and your sacral energy. So this is about lifting up into your higher chakra system, up into your throat. So because you're not exerting down there, it's bringing the energy up here and it's helping you to perceive something before that may have not been clear and obvious because you were accessing your lower chakras and they were like utilizing that energy. So that's why I'm seeing the reserve happen here. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, it like forces the energy to funnel up when you do that. So it can be rather than giving into something impulsively just because it feels good, it's bringing the energy up to the throat. It's like this. If you think of the chakras like spouts, just for this example particularly, where like water can come out, basically if you plug each of them up to here, all of that energy, instead of coming out where it was coming out before, it's going to build up and come out here, and that's how you're going to access it, particularly here within this. Yes. Okay. So it's all your energy that you're using. You're just like using it in a different way because of a different chakra that you're accessing. But you may be more used to leaning on other chakras, and so it may feel a bit uncomfortable, and also it's going to bring stuff up. Because think about like if the throat chakra hasn't been being as activated, think again about like a spout or a hose or something. When stuff first starts coming out of it, it can be very dirty, you know, because there's like sediment in there, but then it's going to run clean. The more that you're doing it, the water, the energy is going to then run clear through it. So that's basically what's happening here. So there's something that's going to be coming up that you may be like, oh, I see like why my ego was hiding that from me, or yeah, why this was being hidden from me, because it's kind of hard to look at this. It's kind of hard to face this, but it ends up actually liberating you from this thing. So you're not stuck in that feeling of this feels horrible. There's like much more beyond that you get to. And this is opening up to a new chapter for you. Wow, very significant. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everybody for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm wishing everybody love and light and healing, and I hope to catch you guys next time.